This is Nico. If any of you guys follow us on social media, we made a post about how we rescued a cat on our property at the restaurant, and we got him fostered. Now he's a part of our family. He's about a year old. He's really filled out. He acts like he doesn't love being picked up, but he just woke up from a nap, so he's just a little cranky. So he's doing really good. He's very lovable, super sweet. Oh God, oh God. That was so close. You probably wonder what's going on. Kind of looks like we're having a cookout, which we kind of are. It's July 4th weekend. Today's the 2nd, which falls on a Sunday. And Sundays we usually deep clean the restaurant, so we stay there for a little bit longer and take care of the details that really make the restaurant clean and presentable whenever you guys come to visit us. So in order to treat them for their hard work and everything that they have done for us throughout the week, we do a family style type dinner, and we try to switch it up every week. So for today, we decided to go with a July 4th themed kind of picnic cookout type vibe with some chips, some hot dogs, for all you glizzy gladiators, some sides like potato salad and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just gonna get things prepared and then drop it off to them later so they can enjoy their meal after work. We're getting the grill heated up. We're about to throw down some hot dogs. We've already got some sandwiches pre-made, so we're gonna get these cooked off, and then as soon as they're done, we'll drop them off for dinner. Our homemade potato salad. That's right, I said homemade potato salad. Just kidding, guys. I was introduced to potato salad at a young age. One day, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I was taken to a Sunday's barbecue, and I got to try potato salad for the first time. And ever since then, it's been history. Just wrapped up all of the food, and we are about to deliver it now, load it up in the truck and take it over to the staff so they can enjoy it after service and sit down and have a nice meal. We hope they enjoy this special 4th of July themed meal that we put together for them, and yeah, let's go ahead and take that over to them. We've been getting a lot of questions and inquiries about what type of knives we use, especially being the owner of a sushi restaurant. And a lot of the knives that we use in the kitchen are dull-strung knives. And dull-strung knives are very durable. They retain their sharpness very well. And what's not to love about that? And on top of that, they're also very affordable, and they are a verified Amazon dealer, so you can feel good about shopping on Amazon and knowing that you are getting an authorized product that is legitimate and not getting ripped off. So personally, for myself and the other sushi chefs as well, we have our own personal knives and kind of our own personal things that we like to have about, like the feel, the types of steel, things of that nature, just so we can accomplish the same goals, which is to have really pretty looking prep and really pretty looking presentation when it comes to making sushi and our signature items. My custom knives are Majima knives, and this one is one of my go-tos right here. It's a Giotto, custom made, one of one. You won't find another one like this. And it's made of a Swedish Dama steel. It's very strong. It has a really pretty Damascus pattern on it, and I've got a couple of signature etchings that laser engraved that are personal to me. I was also able to get the limited edition Giotto that was launched in a couple of different waves, and I was lucky enough to be able to get one of these. This is very fun to use. It's got a feather grind etched into the blade itself on both sides. And what this helps do is food release. And it's actually a really cool feature because I know sometimes when you're going fast and you're prepping, it's kind of scary when you got stuff kind of sticking to your blade, but the food release on this is second to none. It's absolutely amazing. And if he releases another launch on this, I definitely recommend that you get your hands on one. And on top of having really nice knives, it's also important to keep your knives sharp because you can't use dull knives in a kitchen. It just doesn't work, and it's also not very safe because you're putting a lot more pressure on the food than is necessary. So I personally like to sharpen my knives probably every week. That might be excessive, but every 2 weeks to 3 weeks is pretty acceptable depending on the volume and how much you're actually using your tools. So I use a 1000 grit stone, and this stone you want to soak for at least 15 to 20 minutes. When you're soaking it in a container, you'll start seeing little air bubbles form and float to the top. Once you don't see any more air bubbles, you know that your wet stone is ready to use. To finish or to polish, I use a 6000 grit stone. This stone, it's not necessary to soak. You can. I've heard that it can crack or cause it to break over time, but this is used to really refine that edge, get it nice and polished, and make it just, you know, a little bit more sharp. And so since you don't soak this one, just get a nice even coat and an even layer of water on top, and you're pretty much good to go. So I've been sharpening my Gyuto since it's kind of my go-to, and I've already had it soaking for about 20 minutes, so I'm just gonna dip it in some water, make sure it's nice and wet. And when you start on this side, you always want to have the heel on the bottom, 2 fingers on top, very light pressure. And as you start to see the gray streaks on the water, that's actually the steel coming off of your knife, and you know that what you're doing is working and you are starting the sharpening process. So I like to do a few different passes, and you're going to do them in different sections. So once again, when you have the blade facing you, you want to start with the heel at the bottom and work towards the tip. If you're also having trouble finding that angle, which is about 15 degrees, I've heard that putting a penny or 2 pennies stacked up on top of each other underneath this blade will help you find that perfect angle. And as you can see, I work from the heel, now I'm in the middle, and I'm working slowly towards the tip. Now I've already done a few passes on this before we started filming, so you're not seeing as much of this silver gray residue, but that's totally fine. And now we're gonna flip it over. The blade is away from you, so you're gonna work with the tip instead and then work towards the heel or the bottom of the knife. And once again, we're going in sections, trying to keep the same consistent motion, straight up and down. And as I get closer to the heel, we are moving closer to the top of the stone, so that way you're not running into the bottom. And if you're right-handed, like myself, this side is actually the side that you're going to be working on just a little bit more, since the food contact will be directly on the opposite side first. Just a few tips and tricks to keep your skills sharp and your knives sharp. And as always, be safe and practice good techniques, and you will be successful. And you know you've done this correctly when you do the paper test, and it's just razor sharp. No drag. You've done a good job. This fish weighs 34.95 pounds. Man, this is a big boy. Golly. This is a big loin. Dang, boy. He's thick. That's a thick boy. That's a thick boy. That is a thick boy. Oh, gosh. Gotta hold it so it don't fall off the board, guys. The most beautiful fish you're gonna find anywhere around in Central Florida. Hey, how's it going? It's 4th of July weekend, which means that it's specialty hours for our fish purveyors. So that means that we have to make special exceptions and break down some fish on a Monday. We just got shipped this 34.95, 35 pound big eye tuna loin, and this thing is massive. It's bigger than my cutting board, hanging off on both sides, basically. Can't wait to break this thing down. So we're gonna cut the end off because this part here, we wanna make sure that when we're making these cuts and these sections, that these are what are going to make our saku blocks in the display case. So they all need to be even, so that's the reason why we cut this part off, and all of this is gonna be used for spicy tuna. Because we can't really turn this into a saku block or any sort of piece that's gonna go on top or anything like that. So usually I can feel in the bottom where the skin is, and it's right where my finger meets here, so I'm just gonna kind of square it off right here, and that should be a good start to our saku block. And then we're just gonna set this to the side. And then these pieces here with the skin, they're kind of tough, which is why I recommend a Diba knife, which I don't have. So instead of like rocking through it, that's gonna dull your blade. I'd recommend just like chopping it, and it slowly separates like the tissue and all the skin from the scales, so that way you're not messing up your blade. And then just toss this to the side, and we will work with that later. And then from here, this is where I start measuring out my saku block sections. So pretty much like our display plates, like how big that is. I usually take the width of my hand, and then I add about 1 inch this way. So I'll like start here, move over, and then you kind of just gotta commit to it. Don't think about it, and just go. And make sure you're using your sharpest knife for this, which is why I choose to use the my go-to. And then just always make sure that you're not like rocking, so that way there's no waves in the cuts and stuff like that. And then your saku block obviously comes out a lot nicer. And then we're just gonna follow through with separating that skin. Thank you. And then just same thing, all the way down. And then as you get closer to the tail, you're not going to be able to use this for saku blocks either. It's just like kind of the development of the muscles, because they use their tails to move, and so there's a lot of like connective tissues and muscles here that you have to scrape, and you can't really, cut it up for spicy tuna. So once again, hand, move over a little bit, and commit. Man, this thing is heavy. What, this whole thing is what, 35 pounds? This is at least what, like 10 to 12 pounds?
Oh,
at least?
Yeah, at least 10, 12, maybe 15.
Yeah. Section out of this, like right here. This looks so good. I just want to eat it. I ran out of space. I'm gonna take the skin off, and then after that, we're gonna take off the bloodline. We're just gonna follow this all the way down. Try to keep as much of that meat on the loin as possible. Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright, we're going to flip this way since I'm right-handed, and we're going to remove this bloodline. Kind of has that iron metallic-y taste to it. You can add it to soups. Some people like to do different things to it and try to yield as much of this as possible, but we don't have any use for it, so we're going to respectfully discard it. Now we're going to follow this dark line through this pattern as much as possible, so there's a little bit of a curvature, but it's okay to start on the outside of it and skim the surface and then work closer towards the inside of the loin, so that way we can utilize as much of this for service as possible. And as you separate it, you can already see the coloration difference, that this is good to use and this is not good per se, or just not edible to the normal palate per se. Not a lot of people really like this. Now I'm trying not to rock because I don't want to separate the fibers of the meat. Carefully cut all the way through. And we have successfully removed, I would say, 90% of the bloodline. Now we're just gonna kind of go behind what we've already done and just clean it up a little bit, just to, you know, really fine tune it. Make sure there's none of those iron properties or metallic properties while you're eating this beautiful tuna. Go ahead and separate that so I can see more of what I'm doing. And there we have it. Now we're going to break this down like our other normal yellowfin. We're going to separate it here at this section, which has a lot of the connective tissues that we scrape for spicy tuna. And then we'll break down the rest of the lean meats for our display cases. And as you can see, here's all the connective tissues that are literally layered, and while I turn it to the side, you can see those multiple layers right there that we usually use a spoon for, and we utilize all of this except for the silver skin, we call it, and we use that to mix with our poke tuna for service for spicy tuna. Alright, so now we take the akami off, which is the top triangular piece that we also use. This is the leanest piece of our sectioned off loin per se. So I usually turn this towards me, I guess this way, so I can kind of see that angle, so I can like go as flat as possible across, so it's not kind of like, you know, rocky. So you want to pick the point where it's going to flatten out from the top, so that's going to be about right here. So we're just going to go for it and go all the way through, try to do like one clean motion all the way through. Boom. Then you take this off. So this is your akami, and we're going to remove the excess on this side just to give it a little bit more shape, so that this can be cut into sashimi pieces, and we can also cut it at an angle or a bias for nigiri as well. It's you know, it's open to interpretation. There's no really like wrong way of doing things. I'm gonna go ahead and separate that now, right here, just like that. And we will chop that up. And here's our akami. I'll put that front and center. Alright, now from here we move to this side. And depending on your shape, more likely than not, it's going to slope outward this way. So once again, you're going to want to even it out, so that way your saku blocks are rectangular and they're all symmetrical. So with this, I anticipate we're going to get probably like 3 to 4 sections, depending on how much fat is here, and then whatever's left over, that's what we scrape for the spicy tuna. So it's really important that you get as close to this as possible without going too far in, because you might, you know, jeopardize having one extra saku block for display. And this piece is really nice and lean. It'll really balance out all of the kind of like scraped and you know, mixed poke that we have. It's so dark, it looks so good. All right, so from here, we're just making our saku blocks. So we've already cut it to the length that we wanted at. Now we're just working on the thickness. So it's about probably an inch, maybe about 3/4 of an inch. So that way you have the different selections that you can cut for nigiri, toppers, sashimi, tatakis. We have a lot of different things that we do the tuna, use the tuna for here. Straight back, just like that. And that's what a good looking saku block looks like. What you guys see in the supermarkets, or what you may order that's frozen, it's in this state right here, and this is exactly how you process a fresh saku block from a whole tuna loin. And then from here, it's just rinse and repeat, and you just continue the steps until you get to that point where you cannot continue to make saku blocks out of this. And now what we're left with is what we're going to use for spicy tuna. I'm going to turn it to you so you can see all of the connective tissue that I cannot cut through, which with my knife we can cut through because it's sharp enough, but you're going to be chewing on what is the equivalent to a steak gristle but in your tuna instead. Sometimes isn't too pleasant and people don't like that. That's kind of how you break down saku blocks, and how I personally do it and what I learned throughout the years, and kind of made it to where it makes sense to me. And it still comes out with great looking cuts, as you can see. And I'm gonna let Josh take over and break down some King Salmon that we just acquired. Usually we use Baka Frost salmon, so let's break one down and let's see what we got.
Alright guys, I got my beautiful favorite fish of all time here. Beautiful King Salmon. Definitely a lot smaller than that Baka Frost, I'll tell you that much. It's a beautiful fish. And then when you get to the head, you're gonna wanna cut through that spine. You can cut it all the way through, but I prefer to flip it over. Get my cut exactly where I want it. And you have a beautiful head that does not go to waste. You can make some beautiful fish head curry or lots of different things with that.
About to load up some more. Brian's gonna throw up his drone, and we're just gonna keep the show going.